told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly, we get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli, it's leave on a levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit up my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We have what looks like a phenomenal college basketball slate on this Tuesday afternoon. Not a ton of games, somewhere in the 40 game range, I think. But the quality of these games is what really makes this such an awesome slate. Even to the point where we're figuring out what game to talk about for the degenerates only category was a bit of a struggle, just because there's no bad games today. So that's exciting. As you can all see, and as I'm sure you're all aware, we are joined today by Wylie, who was just called a square in the chat. We're off to a good start. But Wylie, how you doing today?
I'm good. It's a great slate today. A bunch of great matchups. And Messino in chat's going to be shocked to see that I'm once again on plus money. So,
wow, Wylie's going to be on the anti-square. The circle plays today. Or what? So what is the opposite of a square play? Is it like a trapezoid play, a rhombus play?
I don't know.
I'm gonna start calling them rhombus plays.
I think we're both in agreement that I hate people that just call squares or play square and sharp or whatnot. I don't know who determines those, especially of like that just average sports better.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those terms. I think that they don't really mean anything. But yeah, that is what it is. I see we've got the NHL GOAT Fruity in the chat, excited about today's NHL slate. Yeah, I think it returns in full force today. I'm sure we'll hear a lot from Fruity later on the Book It stream, if he is kind enough to share his wisdom with us. So, anyways, for anybody who is new to the stream, welcome. And here's a quick rundown of how it goes. So we have 5 categories on the stream. We have, for the first 4 categories, we have a game that we have picked that kind of fits that category that is interesting for different reasons. So we're not just talking about all of the big marquee games. We have different games that are interesting for different reasons. We're going to talk through the game. I'm going to have my lean. Wylie's going to have his lean. Chat, you are going to have the opportunity to vote on your lean. And then for the 5th category, we have our top bets of the day, which is where our money actually is on this slate. And once again, you guys are going to have the opportunity to vote on what your best bet of the day is. So the last time that we had Wylie on was last Tuesday. It was a phenomenal day. It was the best day that the stream has ever had. I went 5-0. Wylie went 4-1. The only L that Wylie took was the Texas A&M Tennessee spread. It was an 11-point spread. Tennessee only won by 10. One more free throw or one more basket, and I would have taken an L there. Wylie would have had a win. And chat, it was your best day ever as well. You guys went 5-0 for the only time in the history of the stream last Tuesday. So let's try and replicate that magic today. And to get started, let's hop in to category number 1.
Degenerates only.
I was looking at Ballsack State -4 against Dickhead State. Ballsacks covered their last 10 straight games, and my boy says they're a wagon.
So, like I was saying a couple minutes ago, it was a little hard to even figure out what the Degenerates only game was going to be today. As far as bad mid-major teams are concerned, there just weren't a lot of good options. So instead, we went with a kind of low-tier power conference game between the Missouri Tigers and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Vanderbilt has turned it around a little bit as of late. They are 8-point favorites at home in this game. Over/under set at 131.5. Wylie,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this game?
It's definitely a degenerates only type of game. It's not what I'm going to be taking personally, but I think if I had to choose, I'm going Missouri +8. They played, I mean, they suck, right? But they played close. They actually beat Texas A&M last time out. Kept it close with Florida at home. Got blown out by Iowa State before that. Doesn't matter, but almost beat Auburn also at home. I know this is on the road where they've struggled more, but again, they just beat Texas A&M on the road. And this is also a Vanderbilt team that I'm not very high on. And I would also lean towards the under 131. This is Missouri really struggles to score the ball at once, but they kind of lock up on defense as long as they're playing well. And Vanderbilt is kind of the same way. They can really struggle to score at times.
Yeah, so Vanderbilt has who is by far the best player in this game in Scottie Pippen Jr. I mean, obviously he is actually the son of NBA Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen. He's a different type of player. He's a 6'3" scoring guard, but he's legitimately really good. He's gonna carve himself out a role in the NBA, I'm sure, whenever that time comes. Very, very talented scorer, somewhat talented playmaker. So I think if Vanderbilt is going to stand a chance, I think it's going to be through Scottie Pippen Jr. having a good game today. That being said, it just feels wrong to count on this Vanderbilt team to cover a spread this big, even against a squad like Missouri, even at home. So Vanderbilt has actually won their last two games at home by at least this margin. They knocked off LSU by 9 points at home. That was a game that LSU was, I think, a 2.5-point favorite in. And they knocked off Georgia at home by 8 points. That was a game that Vanderbilt was the 9-point favorite in. All that said, though, I do think that this Missouri team is better than Georgia and might even be better than this LSU team at this moment in time. So it feels kind of wrong to say, but that LSU team is beat up. There's players out. There's a lot of players playing through injuries that are really impacting their performance. And I don't think that 9-point win over LSU really means a whole lot in terms of, Vanderbilt's back. Vanderbilt. I mean, not that how are they? Like, they can't even be back. Like, they've never been that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like Missouri to cover here as well. Model has Missouri, or has Vanderbilt winning by about 6.5 points. And I think a 5 or 6 point win for Vandy sounds about right. So.
Yeah, and it was mentioned in the chat, like, Vandy has been playing better, but that doesn't necessarily mean they've, like, winning by a ton. Like, yeah, they beat LSU, like you said, by that much, and Georgia as well. But while they might be winning games, they're not necessarily world beaters by any means. They're, like, still right on that line of 8, and I think Missouri keeps it close.
Yeah, so taking a look at the chat, your poll still has another 30 seconds or so. But chat definitely likes Missouri here. We've got 77% of the vote at this point coming in on Missouri, mostly on Missouri and the under, which is not so surprising. I'm going to throw up Missouri +8 as my on-screen lean, but I do like the under in this one as well. So the model's exact score in this is about 67-60. I think that sounds like a pretty good score. 67-60, 66-60, that type of deal. And yeah, like Gnocchi Gobbler in the chat said, at the end of the day, it's Vandy and Missouri. These teams are not good. So chat poll is done now. Missouri +8 with 34 votes. 71% of the vote is going to be Chat's lean, and we are in agreement here. It is unanimous across the board. Missouri +8 tonight. So now let's move along to category number 2.
Public intoxication.
Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype.
So category number 2, public intoxication. There weren't a ton of crazy public games. I mean, so the one that technically has the most money on it, or the most bet percentage, is Lipscomb over Liberty, or Lipscomb covering against Liberty. But I'm kind of suspecting that that's just because there's not very many bets placed on that at all. So the public isn't intoxicated on it. There's just like a couple people on that game. So we're going to go with the Oklahoma State and TCU game. I'm curious if we're going to hear about this one on stream later. Of course, a good majority of the actual Book It crew, Dave and Trent and all them, went to TCU. Have a little bit of an affinity for TCU. I'm showing TCU right now receiving more than 80% of the bets in this game. TCU is at home against Oklahoma State, favored by 3. Over/under in this game is set at 130, but since the big public play is TCU covering the spread, that is what we're going to be talking about as our focus here. So Wylie, any thoughts on TCU Oklahoma State today?
Yeah, so the initial thought, and I think this is why they received most money, is like TCU -3, right? They're the better team. They're coming off a loss in which I thought they were going to cover. I took them to cover against Kansas State, a bad Kansas State team, right? And they looked bad in that game. I still think TCU is the better team, but I don't think I'm giving Oklahoma State enough credit. Like they've played well recently, and I took them Saturday to just win, and they covered the spread pretty easily down the stretch. So I think this is a closer game than a lot of people think, but I think I'm leaning TCU to cover. I'm going with the public money on this one. It's not a play I'm super confident in, but I would definitely take TCU to cover the lower spread in this one at home.
So I'm on the other side. I like the Cowboys here. And the reason for that is like you said, I think that this Oklahoma State team is starting to deserve a little bit more credit than they've been getting. At the beginning of the season, they were bad. I mean, they lost outright at home against Oakland, which is a bad loss. They lost to like Wichita State, who's a good team, but I mean Oklahoma State should be beating Wichita State, and they struggled to open up Big 12 play. They've I guess kind of still struggled. They've lost 4 of their last 5 in conference, but they've kept it close. Or 3 of their last 5 in conference, but they've kept it close against some pretty good teams. At Texas, only lost by 5. I believe that was a cover in that game. Yeah, they were 10-point underdogs there. At home against Iowa State, they only lost by 3. I guess they were favored by 3, but that game went to overtime. That was a coin flip. And then, like you said, they beat Oklahoma outright last time out by 9. So I think that this Oklahoma State team is a little underrated, a little undervalued, and I'm going to take the Cowboys to get the cover here on the road. I think it's going to be a close game. Yeah.
So I didn't realize they had played already. Oklahoma State did win the first matchup between these two by 1 at home. That was a couple weeks ago now. And I guess that's like, I kind of look at the narrative. I think TCU wins it at home. And even if it's a close game, with these like -3, -2 spreads, I like to think a team wins it at like free throws at the end. Just by a team like Oklahoma State missing a shot and TCU getting fouled and going to the line and just eking out that cover.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a game that comes down to those last couple minutes. Like who can execute on free throws, who can actually put ball in basket down the stretch. I mean, it's definitely going to be that type of game. So somebody said line is now at -2.5. I think it depends on the book. I'm going to pull up the unabated game odds screen.
It is at -2 for me.
I set these numbers up like 10, 15 minutes before the stream started.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually all over the place. So I'm showing a -2 for TCU on Caesars and FanDuel. It's -3.5 right now on BetMGM. So if you're looking to take Oklahoma State, BetMGM is the spot to do it. 2.5 on WinBet, 2 on Bovada, 3 on BetRivers, 3 on Sugar House, 2.5 on DraftKings. Yeah, so it's kind of all over the place at this point. I don't know that this is reverse line movement. So these numbers, when I selected TCU for the segment, it was up towards 90% of the bets, and it dropped to 82% of the bets. So I think there is money coming in on Oklahoma State that has caused this line movement. It's not necessarily an RLM type of deal. And yeah, so also, Fruity said, can't wait to go on stream and be a college basketball sharp today. That'll be the day. You know what we should do, Fruity? We should talk ahead of time one day, and you give out college basketball plays, and I'll give out NHL plays. I think we should do that. So looking at the poll results, it looks like chat likes TCU here as well. So chat has TCU -3, and I'm actually I'll change this to 2.5s, so that we have a pretty what seems to be a pretty consensus number at this point. 3s, 2.5s, 2s, depending on the book. 2.5 seems like a nice middle ground. Also,
Fruity does.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Wylie.
I was gonna say in chat. He said, "Does Fruity lean Bruins?" No, he leans Michigan under today. He's not touching NHL anymore. He's a college basketball guy.
Yeah, Fruity retired from NHL, going on strike. So a couple questions about some of the games today, about the Marquette game and about the Villanova game. We can touch on any questions about games that we don't cover through the actual regularly scheduled programming at the end. We'll have hopefully 5 or 10 minutes for Q&A between when we finish up and when the Book It stream starts. So let's go ahead and move on to category number 3. We actually changed it up. We're finally debuting a new category.
Mid-major spotlight.
Millions on the table, that's major. I turn dirt into diamonds, that's major.
So category number 3, new category, mid-major spotlight. So this is to highlight some teams that you guys may have not watched, but you should watch. Make sure to actually catch some film on these teams, because one of these teams is probably going to be in March Madness. These are the mid-major teams that can wreck your bracket. And today we are talking about Ohio and Toledo. So in this game, Toledo favored by 3 at home. Over/under set at 152. This is a battle right now for first place in the MAC. And the MAC is a conference that historically has had a lot of success in March. This same Ohio team knocked off Virginia as a 13 seed last year. So Wylie, what are your thoughts on this game? Can we trust Toledo?
Let's just say Trent's not going to like what I'm going to be pitching on stream, because I do like Toledo today, and they sold the other day. Obviously, everybody was on them, at least the money line in Trent Slay, which was a -400 juice, and they lost outright to Ball State. Ball State, I believe you were on that game too, right? I mean, Ball State had the game of their season. They scored 91 points. They couldn't miss. And I mean, Toledo still scored 83 in that game. Toledo was in first place in the conference before that, solely in first place because they held the tiebreaker with Ohio. They've already beat Ohio on the road. and they're back home tonight and a chance to bounce back off a bad loss where they didn't play great defense. The defense has kind of struggled all year, but I expect them to step up for a game like this with a chance to regain sole possession of first place in the conference. I heard it's a whiteout. The crowd's going to be going crazy, and I like Toledo to pull this one out and cover the -3.
Yeah, it is definitely a bounce back spot for Toledo. They've been a team that's been kind of sketch on the road this year. They've lost 5 games, and I think all 5 of those losses came on the road. Yeah, at Oakland, at Michigan State, at Richmond, at Kent State, at Ball State in their last game. So at home, I do kind of like Toledo as well. That being said, the model has this basically at exactly 3 points. So I don't know if I can necessarily advocate for a Toledo -3. I am showing 2.5s on a lot of books. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make an executive decision. Since I changed the last one from a 3 to 2.5, I'm going to change this one to 2.5 as well.
Yeah, and this, I'm interested. I don't normally look at it because I don't really care. It's not going to affect what I'm on. But I'm curious to see where the money's at on this game because this did open up at 4.5 for Toledo, and it's down to 2. So I don't know if it's reverse line movement or if Ohio's getting a good bit of the money.
Yeah, so on Action Network, I'm showing 62% of the bets on Toledo. Although with numbers that have moved like that, it's really important to take into account what number the money actually came in on. This is just 62% of all of the bets, whether it was at 4.5 or 4 or 3.5 or 3 or 2.5. 62% of all that is on Toledo. It could be that it was 80% on Ohio when it was at 4.5, and then as it moved, now we have a higher volume coming in. Maybe it's 70% on Toledo or 65% on Toledo now. So I'd really hate the concept of RLM without knowing how much of the money came in at each of the individual numbers that were offered, because that kind of tells the story. We have no clue how much money is coming in right now at 2.5 on each side.
So it's pretty split between Ohio and Toledo in the chat. The over is heavily favorited, which I think I'm leaning towards the over too, just because I don't expect Ohio to shoot that terribly as they did in the first time. Plus, Toledo's defense isn't great. But I think Toledo's going to score and Ohio's going to score. But it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I don't think it sails over 152.
No, I don't think it's going to sail over either. It's going to be a game with a lot of offense. Of course, it's 2 really good offensive teams, but it's also going to be I think a controlled and measured game. It's not just going to be recklessly flying up the court, trying to pad your stats. Yeah. They're going to be trying on defense. Whether they're going to be successful or not is another story.
Yeah, especially for Toledo. They just again, Ball State had the game of their life shooting. Some of that's not on Toledo, but they just let them score 91. Mm-hmm. They're going to be stepping up on the defensive end for sure.
I completely agree, and especially at home. This Toledo team, again, all 5 losses that they've had on the year are at home.
I think this will be a really close game, and I think whoever wins this game will be the one going to March. Playing in March.
Yeah, for sure. And we could see round 3 in the conference tournament. I'd be excited for that. That would be a game to tune into. And like you said, the over has absolutely dominated the poll. More than 90% of the vote is on the over. Beam Season in the chat just said, "Holy Woj bomb, trade Pacers and Kings." Give us the details. If we have full details.
I saw McCollum went to
Pelicans,
which is weird because the Pelicans aren't really competing.
Maybe they think that McCollum helps them next year or something, or helps them bring in free agents or who knows what. I don't understand the trades that NBA teams make. I really don't.
McCollum doesn't make sense. Unless, again, they're building for next year, because Zion should be back, and they could have a good team, but It's a bonus for Halliburton.
I'm seeing Healed in the chat also here. Let's take a quick hiatus from the college basketball. Oh, here we go. Buddy Healed, Halliburton, and Tristan to the Pacers. Okay. The Pacers are sending Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Jeremy Lamb. Wow, Jeremy Lamb got traded twice in the same trade. That's crazy. To Sacramento for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson.
I think that's pretty good for both teams, to be honest, because the Pacers, they were kind of falling, but I think Halliburton helps them long term, and Hield.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of strange. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of players for a lot of players trades in the NBA. Yeah, no, I figured that you'd copy the Woosh tweet. He's probably getting flamed for that. Jeremy Lamb and Jeremy Lamb. Justin Holiday instead of the second Jeremy Lamb. Okay. I'm sure we'll hear about this at some point later on. I don't really follow the NBA that closely, so I don't know what to think. I know it's just weird to see a lot of player for player trades like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a fair trade, and I think it helps. I don't know. I think it helps the Pacers long term. Because again, we're starting to struggle.
Yeah. So moving back to the realm of college basketball, let's go ahead and move along to category number 4.
Game of the day.
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star.
So for category number 4, the game of the day, we're going to talk about Illinois and Purdue. I know a lot of people want to hear our thoughts on Arkansas and Auburn. This is my stream. I made an executive decision. I don't want to give out any official. I don't want to have leans for that game. That game sucks. It's sketch. I feel more comfortable talking about this Illinois Purdue game. We can touch on the Arkansas and Auburn game at the end of the stream because it is an exceptionally interesting game. But game of the day today, we're gonna go with the battle of two ranked teams, two top 15 teams. In Illinois and Purdue. Purdue is at home in this game, favored by 6 points. Over/under is currently set at 146. So Wylie, you're a Big Ten guy. You go to a Big Ten school.
Yep.
I'm sure you've watched these teams several times. So what are your thoughts here?
This is again another battle for first place. Purdue's a game back, so I guess they'd technically be tied with Purdue having the tiebreaker if Purdue was to win this game. This is a very sketch line, because if it was Purdue anything inside 4, I think I'd be all over them. But right at 6, it's like right on that line where Illinois could pull out a cover if it's a close game, right? Mm-hmm. But that -6 kind of makes me want to take Purdue. I was on them this weekend. They failed to cover. They were firmly in control of Michigan all game. They let me down there, but I think Purdue just matches up really well. They match up well with everybody. I mean, you've got Edey inside, you've got Williams, and you've got Ivy out on the outside. Coburn's pretty much the only big guy. I mean, he's a stud, don't get me wrong, but when Purdue's got 2 guys to throw at him that are just as good, if not better, at least with Edey, it's a very tough matchup for just about anybody in the country, and I think Purdue pulls out this cover barely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Purdue to grab this cover as well, and so does the model. Model has Purdue by about 7.5 points, and I just think that without a lot of depth on the inside, I mean that just makes it tough for Illinois. Coburn is Purdue is going to go inside. They're going to try and run the game through Zach Edey and Travion Williams, inside, outside. They're going to make Coburn play tough defense every single possession. And that's going to do a couple things. I mean, either it's going to put him in foul trouble, which is a distinct possibility if he really plays physical defense. Or if he's playing really physical defense, it could tire him out and his offensive efficiency can go down. Or he's just going to allow easier buckets on the defensive end if he's not playing tough physical defense. And they just don't have a whole lot of good depth behind him. I think that's the difference here. Cubs Mafia, who I'm assuming is an Illinois fan, because Chicago is in Illinois, has made several comments on this game. Take Illinois with the points. Illinois gonna win straight. I agree with Scrunch. I mean, agreeing with Scrunch is usually a good idea. Purdue trap, fuck model. Coburn gonna make them his bitch.
I mean, Coburn's great. There's no denying it. He's up for Player of the Year. But I mean, you've got a 7-foot Edie that is going to go toe to toe with him, and then you got Williams, who would be a starter on any other team than Purdue.
Yeah.
Coming off the bench to back him up. And he's happy to come off the bench, which is like only good for morale. So I definitely like Purdue to pull this cover out.
Yeah, I agree.
It'll be a close game, but it's one where they'll pull away in the last minute or so and cover that spread.
Yeah. So these two teams did play earlier this year. It was a really, really close game. It was a game that Purdue kind of dominated in the first half. Illinois came back and tied it up after 2, and it went into double overtime, where Purdue eventually ended up pulling out an 8-point win in double OT, which is not something you really expect. Zach Edey in that game feasted on the offensive side. He went 9 for 14. Kofi Coburn fouled out in only 22 minutes of play. And I really think that's just the strategy that Purdue's going to take, is to try and get Coburn in foul trouble.
Yeah, even if they throw Edey at him, right, and he gets into some foul trouble, whether it be a charge or something, they've got Williams to back him up, and that's not the depth that Illinois doesn't have. That's not the luxury they have. We've seen at times without Coburn, Illinois just look lost against other teams with the size advantage. If Coburn gets in foul trouble or is even gassed, Purdue's gonna have a huge size advantage on the inside. And I think just feast again, especially at home today.
Yeah. So chat is fading us here. They're taking Illinois. 66% of the vote came in on Illinois in this one. Good luck, chat. This is gonna be an awesome game, though. We are blessed today with all of the good college basketball that we get to watch. So it's time now to move along to the last category, our best bets. And in order to make a poll for what everybody's best bet, or for what chat's best bet is, I need to know what you guys are on today. So give me your favorite college basketball plays of the day. Give me, if it's a spread, the team that you're on and the actual number that the spread is. If it's a money line, give me the actual money line. And if it's a total, give me both teams and the total. So I'm going to play the video clip, give you guys a couple seconds to start typing stuff out.
Big Brain plays.
Already seen opposing sides, Wyoming, Utah State.
Yeah, that Wyoming Utah State game is an interesting one. Although I do see 2 people on Wyoming.
Yeah, I've seen 3, 4.
So we're gonna go like that. I see West Virginia spread and West Virginia money line. So I'll throw that in. We'll go
Nova -4, Nova, Marquette plus.
Yeah, Marquette plus 5.5. Villanova -4, and from Fruity, North Carolina money line -105, lock of the century.
Michigan State -4. Don't touch that game.
So poll is up. You guys should vote G Unit on Purdue. That's the only thing that matters. Wylie, what is your favorite college basketball bet today?
So, I don't know that I'm decided yet. I like Toledo. I like Toledo a lot, but it's between them and Nova, -4. And I'm waiting on Nova just because I need Gillespie or Moore to play for them for me to officially lock that in. But I think even without him, they've got a good chance to cover the spread. And I think with either one of them in or both, they easily cover the -4 against the St. John's team that just hasn't panned out this year, ultimately.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if it was way earlier on in this stream or if it was in the sweat stream last night as we were kind of talking about some college basketball. Somebody said that Posh Alexander was out. I haven't had a chance to look yet. But if Posh Alexander is out for St. John's, that is a huge loss. I'm seeing him listed as questionable right now.
Yeah, so
but without Posh, they're lost.
If he's a game time decision, both Gillespie and Moore are also game time decisions. I would expect Moore to play because he's been out longer, and Colin looked fine on the sidelines. I actually haven't heard what his X-rays came back at. If he's questionable, I would expect him to also play.
Yeah. I think that this Villanova bet is pretty solid, especially if there's no Posh Alexander.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fruity says his college basketball play has the most votes. It's probably just because you said it. If it was somebody else who said it, it would.
I will say
it's the fruity effect.
I do like that, but that one kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good look. This Clemson team is kind of
yeah, they're
meh,
terrible, and I don't like them being favored. It is, I guess, sketch in the first place, but
I only picked it because Clemson is dog shit in every aspect. I mean, that's a pretty good reason to be against the team.
It's very true. When I saw North Carolina as dogs in this game, I was very surprised. I mean, I get there on the road, and that's where they've kind of struggled, but I mean, they beat a better Notre Dame team on the road. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they knocked off Louisville on the road pretty recently as well.
Yeah.
So for me, I am going to go with the under 129.5 in the game between West Virginia and Iowa State as my favorite bet today. The reason for this is it's basically the same reason why I had the West Virginia under as my favorite bet on a stream last week against Texas Tech. It's just two slow, grindy, really good defensive teams that struggle to score the ball. So Iowa State is 207th in the country in pace, according to KenPom, 5th in defense, 140th in offense. And West Virginia, I mean, is a similar deal. They're a little bit better offensively, a little bit worse defensively, and still slow. So 177th in tempo for West Virginia, 32nd in defense, 106th in offense. If this total is down at like 120, then I think it's a good spot for an over. I do kind of like overs in games like this if the total is down closer to 120. But if it's inching up towards 130, I think that's way too many points.
Yeah, I agree. I think Iowa State was a team I kind of liked early on. They've kind of fallen off. They've shown they can't score, but like the defense is the one thing that's like kind of kept them in games. And I was also super high on West Virginia to begin conference play against Kansas. I took them plus 13. They got smoked by 30, and they haven't won a game since. So I think a lot of that has to do with their offense, and I think both teams struggle to score quite a bit tonight.
Yeah. And no, VA Chris said, don't let G-Unit get you off your handicapping. Still do your own research. So, I mean, yeah, 100%. I if I'm being completely honest, I don't look at what he says. I mean, I'll maybe look at it after the fact if people are talking about it. But I get all of my bets in just completely based on my own handicaps.
Yep.
So primarily the model, and then just doing some additional research to sanity check things. It's like a fun experiment to see how we compare kind of after the fact. But yeah, it's definitely not and shouldn't be part of the handicapping process. So what's the under number? It should be at 129.5. That's what it was at. I mean, that's what it was at an hour ago. Yeah, I'm showing, depending on the book, 129, 129.5 for this game. You can get 129.5 on BetMGM, BetRivers, Sugar House, PointsBet. So 129.5 is still a good number. So chat, poll results are in, and Fruity's pick is the winner. North Carolina money line minus 105 on the road against Clemson. Fruity is a college basketball capper now. NHL over. Like the sport of hockey never existed.
Especially when this play smacks later today, because I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting play.
Yeah, it's weird, definitely weird to see them at plus, or they were at plus money before. It's pretty much a pick 'em now, +1 for North Carolina. But I think they're just simply the better team. Clemson's quite bad. They've been a team I faded recently and had some good success with it. And North Carolina's coming off a bad loss to Duke at home. I like them to bounce back and at least win this game outright.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a bounce back spot after that emotional Duke game.
Yeah.
All right, so that wraps up the regularly scheduled portion of the stream. We've got 13 minutes until Book It is going to go live, which gives us 13 minutes to talk about other games. So the first one that we should touch on is this Arkansas and Auburn game. So currently, let me look up active lines on Unabated. And for anybody who is unfamiliar with this tool, this launched just a couple weeks ago. But Unabated is a company that has kind of developed this live dashboard for where all of the numbers are in all of the sports betting, in all of the sports. So they have like 30 or 45 second latency feeds from pretty much every single book. It's an amazing resource. You can like see all of the line movements and stuff. So we endorse this. So I'm showing a -1, -1.5, some -2s still for Auburn. But what a sketch line. I wish that this game was on Thursday because Crabs would have been on. Not that I don't want to talk about it with you, but this is like the ultimate Crabs game. Like Crabs has been building up to the moment that this game happened since his first appearance on the Book It stream.
Yeah, so you guys probably know, me and Crabs are almost never on the same side of a bet. It's like a once a month type of thing. I like Arkansas today a lot. This is a game me and Mush have both like looked ahead at as a potential loss for Auburn. I still think they're the best team in the country. And they found ways to win against like bad teams on the road. Like you're gonna have an off night against like Missouri, against Georgia, but finding ways to win is what like makes a team great. That said, playing at Arkansas is a different beast. I think this Arkansas is really undervalued. I've been taking them a lot recently. They've been winning, not only winning but covering spreads. This is a team that I wouldn't want to play in March. This is a team I wouldn't want to play in the tournament. The crowd's going to be going crazy tonight. It's sold out. And I think if there was ever a time for Auburn to lose, it's now. I don't see them losing at home. I think they're going to win the rest of their games at home the rest of the year. And they've shown to struggle on the road against worse teams. I think Arkansas wins a close one. And this isn't a play I'd put in any parlays. I wouldn't put any more than a unit on it. I like this play. It's probably going to be on my slate. But I like it as a simple little straight bet. If you're betting on Auburn to lose, it's now.
Yeah. So the model has Auburn winning this game, but by less than a point on average. So man, it's sketch. Do I want to bet against Auburn? No, not at all. But this Auburn team has struggled on the road. They've, I was talking about this on stream last night, but all of their road games have been close. So they beat Georgia by 2 on the road, and Georgia sucks. Before that, they beat Missouri on the road by 1. And Missouri is not a good team either. They beat Ole Miss by 9. They beat Bama by 4. Only big win was against South Carolina by 15. A pretty good St. Louis team on the road. They only beat them by 4. And South Florida. Auburn played them on the road earlier this year and only beat them by 6. So Auburn is finding ways to win on the road, but not blowing teams out.
Yeah, and it's like when you get on these long win streaks, it gets harder and harder to win that next game, especially on the road against an Arkansas team that I think should be ranked at this point. It's kind of an insult that they're not ranked over some of these teams the way that they've played recently. I guess maybe they're missing some of those key wins, but they just keep on winning. And this is a team, again, I'm not going to look forward to playing in March, especially if they pull off this win tonight.
Yeah, so this Arkansas team, though, it's a little bit interesting. So they have lost a couple not so good games at home this year. So they've lost 5 games, 2 of them on the road, 2 of them at home, 1 on a neutral site. But the home losses both came a little bit earlier in the season, but those games came to Vanderbilt and Hofstra.
Yeah, I think back then at least, Hofstra is who we were considering to be a wagon. I think at that time at least. I don't know if they still are. I haven't been taking them. And like as the season goes on, we're not seeing the same team. I mean, at that same time period, I want to say like Baylor was number 1 in the country, like unquestionably, and they've fallen off hard recently. So teams have the ability to change, get better, or worse as the weeks go on.
Oh,
which is why I
for sure.
Still have them.
But yeah, this is not a game that I'm gonna have any quins on.
It's gonna be a great matchup to watch.
It is. So actually, you know what I might do? What feels like a good bet is if there's a way to bet like alternate spreads on each team, or just with like winning margin greater than 10. I either feel like Auburn is going to come out and absolutely throttle them, just put all of the doubters to rest, or Arkansas is going to come out and absolutely throttle Auburn. I think if this is a close game, I honestly think that might favor Auburn, just because they've been in close games in hostile environments before and found a way to pull it out every single time.
Yeah. And Fruity did say in chat, Auburn -10. I'm a CBB capper now. If that hits, then he really is a CBB capper.
Auburn I don't think Fruity's a capper. I think Fruity is the rig.
It's true.
So some other interesting games that we can talk about. Marquette and UConn. I think is another interesting game today. So Marquette on the road is a 6-point underdog or 5.5-point underdog, depending on the book. So I know, Wylie, that you like Marquette tonight.
I do. I just think Marquette continues to get undervalued game after game. It doesn't matter. I thought after beating Nova by 10 at home, a game in which they were dogs at home, they'd start getting some respect. But to be a 6-point dog against a team that in UConn that hasn't played well recently, I get they beat them. They did beat them on the road earlier this year, UConn did. But I think that was before Marquette figured it out. It was right after that first matchup that on a run. They beat Providence, and they really haven't looked back. I mean, they've lost to Providence since then, but they beat Nova in a bounce-back game, and this team is one of the best teams in the country right now. I get that UConn's at home, but I was high on UConn to begin the year. I just don't think they're the team that everyone's expecting them to be. They're still a solid team, but Marquette, I do think the teams look at these lines before. As a matter of fact, I know at least Auburn does because I've got a buddy on Auburn, and they actively try and cover spreads. So I think Marquette sees the disrespect at least, and is going to come out and play hard and at least keep it close, if not win outright. But
Yeah, and so somebody in the chat said that Marquette is built for close games, and that is so true.
yeah,
I mean, it's a Shaka Smart team. I mean, what you get is you get crazy, tenacious, high pressure defense. So much fun to watch. I mean, I enjoy watching that style of basketball. It's not for everybody, but I really enjoy that kind of game. And yeah, it's like they're never out of it.
yeah. They can shoot the lights out if they want to. And along with that defense, it's Marquette's again one of those teams I'm not going to want to play in March.
No, I mean we've seen Shaka Smart take worse teams to the Final Four.
Yep.
So Billy or B Willie has a trend for this game. 2 top 25 teams. If the lower ranked team is at home and favored, they cover the spread 68% of the time. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that is coincidence, how much of that is predictive. But I mean, it does kind of make a little bit of sense.
How many of those games were Shaka Smart coached?
Yeah, I mean, if it's like 68% on 20 games, that's not a big sample size. But if it's 68% on like a couple hundred games, then that's very significant. Or also potentially still a coincidence. It's not super cherry picked. I mean, you just need. And I wonder how much that extends to just looking at, say, like Ken Pom rankings, and if you have the air quotes worst team at home but favored, how often they cover.
Yeah. So
okay,
I'm seeing
sample of 25. Okay, yeah, that's not a super big sample size. I'd be curious if you can find more data on that and see if it holds.
So I'm seeing questions about Michigan State. I'm not touching them. I'm a Michigan State fan, which sketches some people out, obviously. But like I know a lot about Michigan State. Don't touch them until they show any sort of consistency. I don't know what Michigan State's team's going to show up game to game. I mean, we got blown out on the road against Rutgers. Rutgers not a terrible team. It's a very tough place to play, but to lose the way we did was just embarrassing. I think we bounced back at home, but Wisconsin's good. It's a revenge game for them. We beat them on the road. I'm not touching it. Stay away from Michigan State today.
Yeah, I will. I'll defer to Wylie on all things Michigan State.
I did see a question about Michigan and the under, and I'm curious what the model has to say because I'm not betting on Michigan. Michigan sucks. They could definitely lose this game outright, but I like the under.
I have it going over.
That is unfortunate. You ever going over by a lot?
Not by a whole lot.
Okay. Yeah, it's just at Penn State they play really tough. Like I would not be shocked to see Penn State win this game, as they did against somebody big the other day or the other week. But Michigan coming off a game in which they shouldn't have hung with Purdue. To be quite honest,
Hunter Dickinson played out of his mind.
He could not miss, which is kind of why I'm leaning towards the under. I don't expect him to make all those shots. He's still the best player on the court tonight. I don't think he'll be that lights out. And Michigan also made a little more threes than I expected against Purdue. I think this goes under, and Penn State definitely will go under. I think their team total, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I think it kind of just comes down to fouls at the end. I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty close game. Neither team really has blowout ability
Yeah.
So I think that's going to wrap the stream up for today. The Book It stream is live. We're going to go send them a raid. So if anybody wants to join into that raid, feel free to do so. Appreciate everyone being here. We'll be live at the same time tomorrow, 1 a.m. to, or not 1 a.m., 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be with Ben tomorrow. Same type of deal, running through college basketball stuff. Hope to see you there. Thank you, Wylie, for joining us. We'll see you again next Tuesday. And I don't think it's mathematically possible for us to go 14-1 again on the stream, just because there's too many occurrences of chat fading us. But let's have a good day.
Yep.
So good luck to everyone. We will see you next time. Peace.